because we're going to bring on our special guest at this point in time, former Colorado State head coach, former Nebraska basketball head basketball coach. Also, he's currently San Jose State basketball's head coach. This man has won 4 different Conference Coach of the Year awards, the Jim Phelan Award. And at the time in 2014, he led Nebraska to their first NCAA tournament appearance in 16 years at that point in time. Mr. Tim Miles, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, Adam, how are you, man? Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you joining me. I know you're traveling. You're on a road trip right now with the team, so I appreciate you taking the time to join us. So I want to get to how things are going now, what you're up to now, but I want to go backwards before I go forwards. So talk to me your time at Nebraska. All right, Nebraska's probably known more for football than probably any other sport that there is. So when you become the head coach in Nebraska, after your success at Colorado State, when you got here, what were your first impressions? What was it like when you first got that head coaching job here in Lincoln at that time?
Yeah, well, Tom Osborne hired me in 2012, and I had my sister went to Oklahoma, and so one of the first college football games I ever saw was Oklahoma, Nebraska. So I was always enamored with Nebraska. The fan support came to football games, probably even when you played, Adam, and always enjoyed it and loved it. And I know there's a lot of talk about it's a football school, but you walk in Pinnacle Bank Arena on a game night and see over 15,000 fans and the energy and the facilities and the commitment and the resources, and you'll know immediately it's a fantastic job and a fantastic place.
So talk to me about that game day atmosphere in Pinnacle Bank Arena, because you are right. I think there's a certain viewpoint. Hey, maybe it's more this type of a school being more football oriented. But when basketball season's going on, men's, women's, Pinnacle Bank Arena is rocking. There's a reason the Huskers tend to have a really good home record, despite what their overall record may or may not be on a particular year. Talk to me about the effect that Husker Nation has on a home game and what that atmosphere is like.
I think the one thing I've noticed about Nebraska is the intensity of fandom is like very few other places that you go. And that's great. It can be a real pain in the butt if things aren't going well, but the idea is the care factor is there. And there's a lot of places, like when you're out in California, you go to a Stanford game or even one of our games at San Jose or Cal on most nights, and it's pretty lukewarm. It's just not the same. So I think that the energy level that those fans bring, it makes, first of all, it has a direct effect, like you said earlier, on winning. Like, you're a better team when the juices are flowing that way. And when that crowd is behind you and against the other guys, right? And the refs. Let's not leave the refs out. So and that's just awesome. It's so great to be a part of. And, I remember when I'm telling Tom Osborne, I remember saying, Nebraska seems like one of those world-class resorts. The new stuff is state-of-the-art, like you wouldn't believe. And the old stuff is so well kept and well preserved and honored that it reminds you like you're in an elite place and a really cool place. And that's always been the way I felt when I was going there, when I was there, and now that I'm not there anymore. It's a special place.
Of course, you had some special teams here as well, and Nebraska fans will never forget the tournament run that you guys went on with Petaway and Pitchford and Shields, all those guys. Does that team still have a bond? Is there still some connection between you and some of those guys?
Absolutely, yeah. You stay in touch with guys, even though we're in far off different places. I was texting with Siobhan Shields just about a month ago. He's doing great over in Milan, Italy, in the EuroLeague. He's had chances to come back to the NBA, and it doesn't make any sense for him. He's doing so well over there. That was a great team. That was a great run. God, I thought we'd maybe get another one too later in life, right? I thought that team that went 22-9 and 13-5 in the Big Ten might make it, but we just, couldn't beat Kansas. I think we lost on the last second shot, and we couldn't beat Michigan or sweep Michigan, and both those teams were in the Final Four, and that's what the committee said kept us out. One more win is all we need over guys like that. And that was just too bad because those were, with Isaac Copeland, Isaiah Roby, James Palmer Jr., Glenn Watson, there's a whole bunch of guys, was really a special team too. We had a lot of fun times, and I learned a lot as a coach and enjoyed. I lived in Nebraska for 9 years. My son and daughter, Nebraska is home to them. My son's a Division I track athlete at North Dakota State, doing great. My daughter now is in grad school at Arizona State after coming out with me and graduating here at San Jose State. So, I still get back to Nebraska probably once a year. My dentist is there. One of my doctors is there. So I find my way back there, and a lot of my golf buddies are there too. So that's a lot of fun.
Well, that's good to hear. Some coaches aren't always welcome back as much, but you're almost universally beloved. I think just from Nebraska basketball fans from the time that you were here. I did want to ask you too about Jack McVay and kind of the progress that he's made. Did the game just kind of grow around him, or did he make significant strides now getting NBA minutes?
Well, think of Jack's journey, right? So he comes in and he's playing and starting at a young age, freshman, sophomore. By the time he's at the end of his junior, he's on the bench mob. He's one of the guys, rowing the boat when somebody makes a dunk or something like that with some of the guys at the end of the bench. And then he decided to go back to Australia and start his pro career. And I think Jack, looked at his mindset, looked at how he can grow and develop. He always had a skill set, just an elite skill set, especially shooting the basketball. And now to see him in NBA games and signing an NBA two-way contract is great. I mean, I think it says a lot about his wherewithal, mentally and physically. And he was always a smart player. He was a really smart player. Like, you put him in a situation, he'd help your team defense like crazy. Always an elite shooter. And even though he wasn't a great athlete, I think that shows you all of those intangibles that lead up into winning basketball. Athleticism is in there, but it's not the most important part. It's, do you know how to play? Do you know how to play? Do you add value? Do you help us win the game? And Jack certainly does that. And he did it in the NBL in Australia, where he had a remarkable run. And now hopefully he'll make it and have a long, prosperous NBA career.
So you're a guy who's been coaching a very long time, very high levels, everyone knows, won well over 400 career basketball games as a head coach. Talk to me, if you were to, because I'm I'm coaching my kids as they grow up in basketball and whatnot. And actually, that's probably the dominant sport in our house at this point in time right now. Soccer has crept in as well. I didn't see that coming, but I embrace it fully 100%. I'm learning every freaking day. There's only 27 rules in the game of soccer. Did you know that? Like, when you think about baseball and football and how many rules there are in other sports, it's crazy to me. My wife actually loves that about it. She coaches club soccer. But my question to you is, if you could give some advice to some younger players, whether it be elementary school, middle school, heading into high school type players, what advice would you give them on how to become the best basketball player that they can become?
Yeah, first of all, everybody loves basketball. I will tell you, every football team I've ever met with and talked to, there's 10 guys on the team that think they should be on the basketball team. All right, that's always fun. But when we were at Nebraska, we had that great practice facility. I'd look down there, the wrestling team would be going up and down playing basketball, having fun. It's a great sport because it moves well, moves easy. My advice is basketball is a game of skill. The ability to pass, catch, dribble, pivot, shoot, mean everything, but also developing your mind for the game. Being a student of the game, even, one of those guys that, like we just talked about, Jack McVay, you don't have to be the best athlete. You can be, if you're a student of the game and you're a smart player, you can add to winning. You can help a team win, but you better have some skills. You better have, some elite skills, especially, and I think that matters. And the other thing I'll tell you about basketball is, because it is such a game of skill, is you really have to be obsessed with work. The guys that succeeded, it was amazing how many hours they were shooting the ball, dribbling the ball, passing the basketball, playing one-on-one, playing 3-on-3. The more you can play, I think Matt Cumrow has done a great job. I know when my son Gabe was in youth basketball, they started a 3-on-3 league in Lincoln. And that was so critical. Just everybody, you get more touches, 5-on-5, there's 5 guys, 3-on-3, more touches, more responsibility on defense, just everything that fast forwards that track for learning. I don't know, but when I was in Nebraska, I would advocated for the shot clock for high schools. So you played more possessions, more reps, more playing, better skill, better teams, better players. I don't think that's the case. I don't know if they're doing it yet. They should. Hell, South Dakota does it. They can afford it. They can find workers. I think Nebraska can. But when I look at things, I think it's important that basketball is a game of skill. You have to be obsessed with the work that goes into developing those skills. And you have to be in the gym hours on end, morning, noon, night.
Dude, I love the shot clock idea. If for states that are already doing it, I mean, the way you explained it was perfect. If it's a state that's not doing it, Nebraska or otherwise, get these kids more possessions, more reps, more shots, just like you said. And I know Matt Cummer. I just chatted with him for like 45 minutes last night. He's running. Okay, I'll give free shout out. We don't give free shout outs, but here's a free shout out to Supreme Basketball here in Lincoln. Matt Cumro is the guy who's kind of in charge of it, along with Ryan Reeder. And I'm going to give a cheap plug. I'm coaching a third grade girls basketball team. There's tryouts next Tuesday. Go to the Supreme website. Check it out if you're interested. But Matt's doing a great job building up Supreme. They're doing a great job on the girls' side now. They've been doing it on the boys' side for a long time. All right, speaking of other sports and other players in other sports wanting to play basketball, the Nebraska football team has done a dunk competition. You probably haven't been able to see it with your busy schedule. The past couple of years, Heinrich Harburg won it this year. But the NBA dunk competition just had one of the best dunkers I think we've ever seen. First individual to win 3 straight. What are your thoughts, if you had a chance to watch the NBA dunk competition, what are your thoughts on dunk competitions in general? Do you like them, or is it a bit much?
Yeah, that's a good question. One, I haven't watched an NBA All-Star game probably for 15 years, okay? So, and that goes with everything that goes around it. And it was 45 minutes from my house this year. And
okay.
Maybe I should have run up there, right? It was up in San Francisco. Here's the thing. I was told yesterday by one of my administrators, hey, the football team's having a dunk contest at your game at halftime. Could you do a promotion for it? So I think those things are becoming more and more aware. I think the cool thing about it is it shows athleticism, and everybody loves it. I think the crossover part, like having the football guys do it for a basketball thing, I think that's pretty cool. I think it generates interest. It shows, how athletic people are. I think it shows, that there's also a little more of a camaraderie. Like, oh, these guys are interested in basketball. They're interested in the basketball team. They're here. They're doing this performance. I think all of that is healthy. I think it's good. Knock on wood. I hope nobody ever gets hurt.
Coach, Tim Miles with us here. Coach, when you were at Nebraska, you kind of were known for being innovative and tweeting at halftime, and and obviously used a lot of the transfer portal to build your team. The game is certainly changed with NIL, and now you don't have to sit out a year for the transfer portal and all that. How has that How's that have been adjustment, and has that been an advantage to you at San Jose State?
Well, that's a great. I'm glad you asked that question, because I think that you have to, we were innovative. I mean, before I was even at Nebraska, we won an Emmy with a reality TV show at Colorado State. We were always trying to do things that would capture the attention of the masses nationwide and build your brand that way of Colorado State basketball, of Nebraska basketball. We wanted to be hip and cool and people to understand it was hip and cool. And we wanted, because I thought, especially in Nebraska, that we kind of, the reputation across the country was like kind of a meh, like not very impressive. And I thought we upgraded that. And I think Fred's built on that immensely too. I think the University of Nebraska has done a great job branding basketball in a better way. So now the one frustrating part for me as a coach, I grew up, and Adam, you can appreciate this because you're coaching, and I'm glad you're coaching your children's sports. That's super cool for a parent to be involved. I wish I could have done more of that. But, I started as a 4th grade teacher, right? And we always talked about, and we built programs, and we redshirted a lot of those Division I transfers because we had to. But it was about development. It was about your culture. And you kind of knew what you were going to get from one year to the next year because you knew who was in your program and everything. And there was an art to building a program. And that's a little bit gone. Now I feel like I'm a minor league basketball coach in Cedar Falls, Idaho, or Cedar Falls, Iowa, or Boise, Idaho, trying to put together a minor league basketball team with the Oakland A's budget. With the LA Dodgers and New York Yankees in the same damn division. You really kind of buy a team and you're acquiring talent and you're trying to put as much talent on as the floor. It's not quite as artful as it used to be. I miss that. But, hey, you adapt or die. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to raise more money for our NIL. We have $250,000. We're 10th in our league, only ahead of Air Force. And we're trying to build a winner that way. And just 2 weeks ago, we were 500. We were 5-7 in our league, and then two starters go down, and you just don't have the backup to put that into gear. And it's unfortunate for our team, but it changes your thoughts as a coach. And I look at it more like minor league basketball now, acquiring talent and trying to put together as much talent in that team together for what'll probably be a short amount of time. I lost my leading shot blocker to Central Florida for NIL 2 years ago. We lost our entire backcourt last season. Our point guard's probably going to be one of the top 10 guys in the country in assists. But you're going to lose those guys. People are going to come take them from you. So that's part of the deal, and that's what I'm trying to adjust to. But all the same, coaching basketball, college basketball has been, the love of my life, and for 26, 27 years, whatever it is, and sure beats working for a living.
Now you just won the Mountain West Coach of the Year in 2023. So you've obviously had good success out there at San Jose State. Obviously you mentioned you've had some starters go down, and man, college athletics is just, the landscape is completely different than it was even like 5 years ago. But what would you like folks to know? You're being the head basketball coach out there at San Jose State. What would you like folks to know about San Jose State, what you're doing, how you're trying to build it, and what do you want them to know about your basketball program out there?
Well, one, I think I want them to know that I learned a great deal in Nebraska, and I'm so appreciative of my time there. Everybody treated my family and myself so well, and that was important, even in the tough times. Even at the end when they wanted to fire me and bring in Fred, that was difficult to go through. But the fact that there was so much support, I feel like I can go back anytime, and there's a large friendship group, and I've never really, I think one time in my 2 years, some drunk guy said something rude to me, but like when you have to think of 9 years there and you can think of one instance for a coach, that's pretty good living.
Yeah.
So I'm just so appreciative of our time there, and love to go back. Really enjoy it. I'm the same guy. We're still trying to build a winner. We still have fun. We still have big energy. We're still trying to do it right. And I think that, if we're on the road somewhere in the Midwest, come to a ball game, wear your Husker gear. Let's do a picture. Let's do a selfie, post it on the internet, and we'll have a blast.
All right. Last question, Coach, and then we'll get you out of here. We appreciate your time. The Nebraska basketball team this year has shown that they can be very good. They've beaten 4 ranked teams, is it, Jake? Beaten 4 ranked teams. Then they have a rough time versus a Penn State team that had lost 7 in a row, was dead last in the Big Ten just last night, have a rough road loss there. How do they find, or a team in general, doesn't have to be Nebraska specifically, but how does a team in general find a little bit more consistency when you show what you can do one way and then you show what you can do the other way? Because everyone in Nebraska, as you would know, would love to get that first NCAA tournament win. So how does Nebraska go about trying to do that more consistently?
I think these last 2 seasons, Fred's done he and his staff have done a remarkable job. I think they've been really impressive. The last 2 games I was just trying to recollect that I've seen, I saw just a smidge of the Maryland game, like 2 minutes of it. But I watched the entire UCLA home game and the entire Illinois home game, watched both those games. And I kind of spy the guys in the front row that sit across from the coach. I'm like, hey, there's Lloyd. Hey, there's Tim McEwen. Yep. All those guys. So it's fun to see a lot of old friends, but I'm super impressed. Here's the thing about, winning, anytime, winning tournaments, whatever. Winning, you've got to get hot at the right time. You got to stay healthy at the right time, catch the right matchup. I think that's really important. I think that they can do it. I think they look good. They look like a strong team. You're going to have hiccups where you lose to the Penn States of the world on the road. Penn State, that's a tough place to win. It's a hard, it's and their record isn't great, but you look at the standings, 18 teams just keep going down, and these are historic programs. What the Big Ten, the SEC, and these guys are doing, and the depth of these leagues is just incredible to me, whether it be football or basketball, women's basketball, whatever it might be, volleyball, for crying out loud. The depth of these leagues is just incredible. I hope we keep college sports the way it are. I don't know how it's going to end up with all these court cases and everything else, but it's pretty amazing, and I think the Huskers can do it.
All right, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I haven't done a lot of media back in Nebraska, and I appreciate it. So thanks for having me on, Adam, and I hope everything goes well for everybody there.
All right, you too. Thank you.